right, so today, here's the game plan. Warm up, okay, to review 7th grade content, since at this point, we're studying for the SOL. And then after the warm up, we'll do a vocab activity building on this content, and then you're going to end up creating your own food web. Then we'll finish what we started on Monday, the card activity, okay? So go ahead, this tree that was supposed to be a ladybug, it kind of just became a weird kind of looking bug, and then bird. And then, essentially, all you need to do is label producer, secondary consumer, and primary consumer, okay? So think about the flow of energy. Who is consuming who, all right? 2 minutes, then we'll share.
It's a producer.
Producer, awesome. Okay, so that is like the first step. So, where did I talk to this stuff? Well, Anne Louise, why do you think though that it's called a producer?
Because it starts, it has the most energy at the beginning because it gets its energy directly from the sun. So I suppose we call it the producer because it produces the energy for the rest of the chain.
Exactly, it produces the energy, and then I talked about it with Catherine and you guys. What's the name of the process where it makes its own energy? Photosynthesis, exactly. So Annalise, you really touched that well. So photosynthesis, so it's producing its own food through photosynthesis, right? And we'll have a day next week where we review photosynthesis. All right, someone from Cameron's table. Next up, this bug of sorts. What do you guys think? Anyone from Cameron's table?
Well, everybody said, you said primary.
Primary consumer, okay. Primary consumer. Okay, so in terms of the primary consumer, that's something that only eats, Emily, what? Only eats plants. Awesome. So essentially, if you think about it, if you, is it in this room someone who only eats plants? Oh, Lizzie! Don't be shy. You're in Tess. Here too. And Tess. 3 vegetarians. Okay. So, what you could call yourself 3 vegetarians in the room. So this is vegetarian. Awesome. So 3. 1, 2, 3. So because you only eat plants, you're a primary consumer of vegetarian. And then last up, well, just by do.
Would you like need protein? So how would you get protein?
Oh, beans.
Well, vegetarian share.
Well, like beans don't have all of the, what are they called? Like the little protein
They're
thingies.
incomplete proteins.
What?
They're incomplete.
Yeah, they're incomplete proteins. So if you put it with like bread or like rice or something, it becomes a complete protein, and then you've got a protein.
There's also a lot of stuff that are complete proteins, like
Yeah.
quinoa and
Quinoa's
stuff like
a
that.
complete protein. What is that word that I'm thinking
All right, James, free focus, free focus, free focus. Free focus. All right. So the last one, James,
Secondary consumer.
because the secondary consumer is gaining energy from the
Primary.
Yeah. All right, and then let's say this were to be me and I'm eating the bird. So if I am consuming a secondary consumer, so this was in the more, raise your hand if you know what this was going to be called. Tertiary consumer, awesome, yeah. So that's almost more like math word. Primary, tertiary. Exactly. So primary consumer is eaten by secondary consumer. So really though, what you're thinking about though is the flow of energy. So like Anne Louise said in the first one, the plant is producing its own energy, and then the arrow, I like to think of it like the arrow is going, showing like whose mouth the food is going into, right? So in this case, like if I'm eating this bird, the arrow is pointing into my mouth, okay? All right, so, we all good with that?
Yes.
Okay. So the next, so go ahead, flip to your next page. Okay, so we're going to be on 159. Okay, so you're at 159. So basically now we've done the diagram. So now what I want you, and we like touched on the words but we didn't really write that much. So with this, and we've done these vocab things before. Okay, you have, so with these vocab things, like we talked about, there's more than one possible answer, so you're showing me that you know how the words relate, like not just one of the terms individually. So at the top you have producer, consumer, plant, and photosynthesis. So your first thing, strategy that I like to use, that tends to work pretty well, just first go through and in your head, say and think about what each of them mean. So like producer, I know producer are plants, and they make their own energy or produce their own energy in photosynthesis. So for each of those, and then when you decide after thinking through what each word means, then you can write the terms that relate are, so you'll pick 3, and because, so you're explaining your thought process to me, and then the term least suited to the relationship is, and because, okay? So the most important part is your because part, all right? So really focus on that. So we'll take, let's do 2 minutes writing, and an extra minute, like you can share with your partner if you need extra support, okay? And there's more than one possible answer too, so if you can't, if you're thinking like, oh, I can't figure out what's the right answer, well, there's more than one. It just depends on how you're going to explain it, okay? So you're thinking about either how the direction of energy flow or how the energy is being created, okay? Alright, awesome. So now go ahead, talk with the people at your table. If maybe you're on the last part and be like, I can't figure out the best way to explain how this word doesn't fit, but I know that the other three have a strong relationship. Okay, so go ahead, I'll give a minute, then we'll share, we'll hear what people said.
Okay, so I said that the terms that relate are producer, plant, and photosynthesis. Because a producer is a plant that gets its energy from the sun, which is called photosynthesis. And I'm working on the last part, but I said that the term is suited to the relationship because each consumer is an animal who eats other animals.
Producer, plant, plants produce energy. Consumers do not make their own energy. They get it from other sources.
You go share it?
Did you put same name? Did you end up writing different things?
Well, I haven't finished writing consumer, but I ended up saying something different.
Wow, I should have made a new joke and he
Okay, so, listen up. You've had time to share. Good, Samira? Alright, so you've had time to write and share with your table. So, who would like to share their response? And now remember, you might have something different than one of your classmates. It all just depends on how you explain the relationship, alright? Bruce, let's share it, and then Catherine.
Okay, I said the terms that relate are producer, plant, and photosynthesis because they are the same. And a plants are producers which use photosynthesis to make food.
Interesting. Okay. Catherine, you heard Rose's?
Yes.
Alright, so let's go ahead and hear yours. Is yours a little bit different than his? Pretty much the same? That relate? Okay,
Yeah.
but perhaps the way you kind of thought through your reasoning is different. So it's always good to hear people's thought process. So it's yours.
Okay.
Yeah, so loud. So enunciate. Go.
Okay. The terms that relate are producers, plants, and photosynthesis because plants use photosynthesis to produce their own food. And then the term least suited is consumer because consumers eat plants and each other.
Plants and each other.
That's it.
Consumer?
I said omnivore.
Attention please, at this time, GW1, 7th and 8th graders, please go to lunch.